Meeting to order. I guess we better take roll real quickly.
Mrs. Jordan?
Present.
Mr. Wood?
Here.
Mr. Vosell?
Here.
Mr. Hodge?
Here.
Mr. Wood? Mr. Cantner?
Here.
Mrs. Derndak?
Here.
Did you say Mrs. Wood?
I said both.
They're both
Here.
Okay. First business, approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion?
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All right. Any additions, deletions, corrections, or comments?
I got a couple comments
Okay.
on paragraph 4 on the minutes. It's on the
Paragraph, what page?
paragraph 4 of new
on the
business.
beginning? Okay.
Oh, actually, I wrote notes on there. It has nothing to do with you guys. Sorry about that. On the airport master plan on page 2-49, we refer to Vero Beach Avionics on that, and they haven't been there for some time. I thought it might be a good time to correct it before it goes to final.
Are you referring to the minutes, Skip, or is there something?
Yeah.
The minutes?
I don't see that.
I'm trying to find where you are.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Okay.
That's something else. I just wrote, apologize for that. Anyway, minutes are fine.
Okay. The only correction I saw was on page 4, right in the middle. Mr. Bryant said the average da-da-da-da-da. He said that is for a system facing due south. Just a typo.
Oh, DEW.
D-U-E instead of D-E-W.
But didn't come up on
So
spell
the
check.
motion would be to
To accept the
accept the
minutes.
minutes as amended.
As
not-
amended.
yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Yes.
All right. Any other? All in favor?
Favor.
Aye. Minutes approved. We are charged by our commission to have elections on the first meeting of every year for our officers. Do we have a nomination for chairman?
Barbara.
I nominate Barbara.
I second that. I second that. Third and fourth.
Oh,
I'm a big guy.
Yep.
do we need to have,
Motion carried.
who nominated me?
I nominated you.
If there's not another nomination, you're automatically.
Any
Sorry
other
about that.
nominations? Okay. Thank you.
This is quiet time.
Yeah. No, nobody wants to raise their hand right now. Vice chairman, do I have any nominations for vice chairman?
Keep it the way it is. Yeah, I don't want to do it.
Are
I
you,
got too many things going.
who,
Dick, I think, is vice chair now, isn't he?
yep.
I nominate Dick for
Yeah.
vice chair.
Second.
Any other nominations? Okay, thank you. Dick, you continue as vice chair.
Same pay as last year?
Yes. No, you get an increase,
Double it.
double this year.
Like that.
All right, new business. We have two potential leases to discuss, to send up to city council. Eric, you want to take over from here?
Yes, ma'am. I sent out a memo, and I hope everybody has that in front of them. It has minimal backup, and I apologize for that. We did not have a lot of backup to be able to send you, but for the first item that we're here to talk about, which is item 4A on the agenda, is North Ramp Parcel 3. As everybody will probably not know, because most everybody doesn't know what Parcel 3 is except the airport staff. That's the former airport operations building at the North Ramp. And as you will recall, Davis Development had leased
Take a
that.
look
We had
at it.
all approved that, and City Council had approved the lease. And then what happened was Davis Development found that building, well, they had upgraded their fleet, and they needed a larger hangar. So we were able to work out an arrangement where Davis Development would lease the former Vero Beach Avionics hangar, former Lopresti's hangar, and move to that one, and then demolish that and build a new hangar. So that's currently in process on the former Lopresti's hangar. That left the operations building, which is just to the north of that parcel, at 2640 Airport North Drive. It left it available for lease. And we had originally 3 interested parties, and then most recently we had 2 interested parties. One of the parties decided they were no longer interested in that parcel, and those 2 were Corporate Air and Treasure Coast Seaplanes. When this happens, when you have 2 interested parties for the same parcel at the same time, our policy directs that we are to review both of those proposals, make a staff recommendation, and then bring that to the Airport Commission. Let both of those parties know what our staff proposal is, and then ask if those 2 parties would like to make a presentation to the Airport Commission. Our staff recommendation is Treasure Coast Seaplanes because we felt it would be the best business model that would fit the long-term development plans and the public need of the airport. In discussions with the parties since we sent out the memo, it's been found that actually Corporate Air and Treasure Coast Seaplanes and ourselves have worked out an arrangement where Corporate Air, who was formerly interested in this particular hangar, is no longer interested and would like to lease one of our executive hangars, which is already available and ready to lease, and fits the Corporate Air need even better, because really what they were looking for is a short-term means to hangar some of their overflow. And at the same time, they have also been talking with Treasure Coast Seaplanes, I understand, for potential additional short-term storage until Treasure Coast Seaplanes can come up to speed. So at this point, we only have 1 interested party in Parcel 3, and we do have the proprietors in the audience if anybody would like to ask any questions. I understand they did have a PowerPoint, but I don't know if that's on the drive, so we may not be able to do that. And we also wanted to keep it short because we realize lunch break is coming up. So with this, we'd like to go ahead and then continue our staff recommendation that we go ahead and lease the site. That's a long-term lease to Treasure Coast Seaplanes. To take over that hangar and actually do some improvements to it and keep it going as a viable hangar for many years to come at the current market rate. If the chair would entertain any questions from staff or from...
Yes, anybody have any questions? I think that changes everything since Corporate Air has moved their interest to one of our executive hangars, which I think is a great idea. I know there were some initial concerns of them going back and forth from their location on the west ramp to the north ramp, and how access and everything else, access control on the airfield and everything else. So I'm really happy to hear this developed, and that they're going to take one of our executive hangars, which is great. Does anybody have any questions for Treasure Coast Seaplanes?
I would love to hear a 30-second version of
what you're going to do.
What you're going to do. You're going to take off from the airport, land in the river, vice versa, both. I mean, what kind of equipment? Love to hear about it.
Come on up.
Do we have someone that wants to come up?
I do. I was going to buy a seaplane and put it behind my house, but you can only take off and land at the airport according to city ordinance.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Unless you get special permission.
Wow.
Well, we know you guys are all waiting to get out of here and get some lunch. It's been a long meeting.
Who are you?
Introduce yourself, please.
My name is Sheena Hoover, and my husband, Michael Hoover. We've been here for quite a long time, and Mary Wood's seen us grow up here in Vero Beach a little bit.
I've known them since they were private pilots.
Oh. They're not anymore?
No.
We have since graduated.
But we have a love of aviation, and in particular, when I first met my husband, all he can think about is flying seaplanes.
That hasn't changed at all.
And so we're trying to find a way. How can we live our dream and share this with the community here in Vero Beach? And this is what we came up with: Treasure Coast Seaplanes. So just a little description of what we're going to be doing. We'll be using a Cessna 206 amphib. Hopefully be operating.
Can you speak into the microphone? Thank
Hopefully
you.
be operating out of the north ramp, and the idea will be able to share this experience with locals as well as tourists. It'll be a sightseeing tour with the takeoff and landing in the water. We'll be using various points. Different sightseeing tours will be available to meet the customer's needs. And then hopefully in the future, within a year or so, we'd like to start offering charters to the Bahamas, anywhere in the Southeast, the Keys, and hopefully Cuba as well.
You're going to apply for a Part 135 license?
Yes, sir. We'll either apply for it or we'll be purchasing one.
Okay. Great.
The idea to find an operable 135 float plane operation is pretty slim, but we're always on the lookout for one of those. But to answer your question thoroughly, we believe that we would start that paperwork nearly immediately.
Do you have any competition out there at all? It seems like you don't.
In our Treasure Coast area, there is no competition.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very much.
I'll need you both to speak into the mic if you would, please.
As of right now, there is no competition in the Treasure Coast area.
I'm just not picking you up.
Okay. I've never had a problem being heard, I promise.
And I do have to share with you all, it is my husband's birthday today. And there's really nowhere else we would rather be today to celebrate his birthday than here.
Best birthday yet.
You don't get out much, do you?
Any other questions?
I have a comment. As an ambassador in the Chamber of Commerce, we're always looking for fine new companies that are going to come to the area and especially will create jobs. As an airport commission guy, knowing that what you're going to bring that venue to our airport, and as a Chamber of Commerce guy and a business consultant, everything you're doing so far is fine. So keep up the good work, and as Woody said, welcome aboard. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Do I hear a motion to move this up to City Council for consideration?
So moved.
Do I hear a
Second.
Can we just do an all in favor, or do we need a vote?
I'll do a vote.
A vote? Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Vosell,
Aye.
Mr. Hodge,
Yes.
Mr. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Cantner,
Absolutely.
Mrs. Derndeck.
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
It's up to City Council now, but got our blessing, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And happy
you.
birthday.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I have a question about corporate air is moving over to one of our executive hangars. Is the executive hangar on the southwest corner, south of the T hangars that they're moving to?
Would you repeat that, please? I'm sorry.
The corporate air people that were looking to bid on this particular parcel, you said that they're going to be utilizing our executive hangars
Yes, ma'am.
at the south end. Is that the south end, just south of the T hangars?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's just wanted a little clarification.
Okay, and we have a second lease to consider.
Yes, that'd be item 4B, which is the North Ramp Parcel 12, which is currently the sheriff's hangar, as you know, on the south end of the east side of the North Ramp. And you also know that they are currently in the process of building a new facility and helicopter ramp over on the existing sheriff's property, just northwest of the airport. Harbor Hangar 700 is a new LLC that was formed in order to lease this same exact hangar as soon as the sheriff is able to vacate that existing hangar and bring in about $40,000 worth of improvements to the same hangar for a term of 10 years with a 10-year option, so it'd be controlling that property for about 20 years total. We took a look at this at both the market rate that the sheriff was currently paying as of this year was about $1,200 a year, and we considered the current appraisals that were done in the vicinity recently and came up with a $1,400 a month rent. So it's a $200 a month rent increase plus the $37,000 that we have that will be a part of the lease that will go before City Council to ensure that the tenant will make those improvements over the term of the lease. And we have met with the principal of Harbor Hangar 700 and feel that in looking at his background and his credit review and financials that there will be no problem with him following through with this improvement. So the staff would request that the Airport Commission review the lease, as you have, hopefully with a backup, and recommend that we move forward to City Council. That would be two additional sources of revenue at the North Ramp that otherwise may have sat vacant for a while, so we're happy to see both of these happen. And kudos to the airport staff that put this together, Lisa and Todd Shear, Lisa Ross and Todd Shear, who worked very hard on putting these together.
Question? Harbor Hangar, What sort of an aircraft do they operate?
They have a few different aircraft. They're all fairly small, and it's really a private operator. Nothing larger than a Cessna 206 was similar to what Treasure Coast seaplanes, and actually will be more likely to be even smaller. So it should easily fit into the hangar that
For private use?
Yes, ma'am, and they may actually sublease some of the space in the hangar to someone else who might want to use the space if they can't fill it. It's primarily for private use. It will not be a commercial operation, just a storage site.
Any other questions? Do you have a motion to move it up to City Council for consideration?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? I'm going to take the, whatever you want to call it.
Mr. Vosell?
Aye.
Mr. Hodge?
Aye, yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Cantner?
Yes.
Mrs. Derndak?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you. Old business, we have an update on the airport master plan. Eric, you might want to lead into that. And I
Okay,
know
sure.
Remy is here with Recondo,
Yes, ma'am.
and we're going to read every word
This was a long
before
process.
lunch.
It was a very long process to get to this point, and we did go over this in the November meeting, as you all will recall, in preparation to go before City Council. But in that interim, it's been very dynamic with the airline situation and everything. We had to go back and forth several times with the airport layout plan. We've now come up with pretty much 4 documents that I don't know if you received all of them for review. I think you received this one, which is in essence, an executive summary of the airport master plan, which goes with some graphics and things that we can use, because we all know that most people will not be reviewing this, or be able to read all of this in detail, especially when you present this to citizen groups or elected officials, et cetera. So what we did was we filed it down to an executive summary there. With the airport layout plan, there's also a narrative report, which is whittled down from the technical report. And this is what will go to the FAA, along with a copy of the technical report in the form of a CD. I don't know if you all have seen the technical report. Have you had a chance to see it? What you probably saw was the narrative report, which is all the text and a lot of the diagrams. The technical report goes into some of the background, and I think we're going to put that keep that in the form of a CD. So you'll end up with 2 of these, this and the narrative report, which the staff will use quite a bit. I mean, we'll go into the detail of that and keep it as our plan for the next 20 years, assuming City Council approves this. But I will say it's a plan. It's not a Bible. I sometimes like to say it's a Bible, but we certainly use that for our first 5 years anyway. But you all have seen what's been happening recently with the airline and how dynamic that has been, even during the master plan process, where we're now talking to TSA on a daily basis, and we have 50 passengers went out on this morning's flight, and we understand there's 50 passengers booked to come back this afternoon. In fact, we're at 95% load factor for March.
Wow.
And we're seeing a lot of success there. So, as we went through a 2.5-year process and had a lot of public input, all of a sudden we found out that we're already talking about an update in 5 years if things continue the way they're going. But the plan is very well done, I think, and we're recommending that you all certainly bring any comments that you can to the table right now, because we can still tweak it before we go to City Council. And Remy may want to answer some questions or do a short presentation as well. I don't think we're doing a PowerPoint on this one, are we? So.
No, I think in the essence of time.
Remy, can
we'll
I
take
just
any
ask
questions.
Eric a question before you go? In regards to the full aircraft, is it Elite's intention to put extra sections on so that we don't have to deal with TSA with a larger aircraft?
That is the only way. You're right, Skip. That's the only way we can handle it right now, is with additional sections. additional flight days, whatever it's going to take in order to meet the demand for now. Of course, we all know that typically it drops off a little bit in the summer, but we also know that hasn't happened much in the last several years here. A lot of the hotels have been filled in the summers. And also, we find that a lot of the passenger traffic that we're seeing is regulars. I mean, they're going back and forth every 2 weeks, and a lot more business traffic than we really ever thought was going to happen. We used to think it'd be mostly leisure traffic, but it's been a lot of business, a lot of regulars, a lot of family up in that area for people on this side of the coast. So it's working out very well for Elite, keeping airport staff very busy. And the way to handle that is only to be able to add an additional 50-seater in order to meet that demand, and I think that is what Elite is going to do. Right now, it looks like adding some flight days to, instead of just a Thursday, Sunday, perhaps going to some additional days during the week.
Are you confident that that we don't have to go to a larger aircraft and therefore go to a different security system with TSA? Are we going to be okay with that, you think?
I'm confident that if things continue, we will have to go to a full airport security program, and that will mean some dollars.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to, I've got some estimates. I'll take those estimates and review those with the city manager and city council, maybe even in advance of the budget process if we need to go for a budget amendment in order to push that process, simply because all the airlines are going to bigger and bigger aircraft, not smaller. And I imagine that Elite will also, well, I don't have to imagine, they've told me they want to start using the 700 as soon as possible, because certainly it's more efficient and they get 20 more seats sold. They're like I said, 95% load factors for March is terrific. And I imagine they'll probably be closer to 100% if it keeps going. It's just very popular. It's really been a hit. It's been a home run, and we hope to see that continue.
Good. Thank you, Rennie, for your indulgence.
I would also like to point out that I see Tim Zork sitting in the back, and I had not succeeded in getting him on the agenda, and the public comment wasn't there either. So, Tim, we're going to get to you immediately, but if we can just get through this real quick, you'll be next person up.
My next appointment at another government is at 1 o'clock.
Okay, no, we'll have you. This is hopefully going to go quickly. I have a quick question. Remy,
Sure.
What will be the effective date of this master plan? Does it go back to 2013 or 2014?
No, it's going to be early 2015. I'm guessing February, since we dated it February now.
2016, yeah.
2016.
Of 2016.
Correct.
Okay, because that would. There were a couple things that I was curious about if we might be able to change in your Focus Action 1, which is about develop a strategy to restore scheduled commercial air service. Since this isn't a backdated document and we're trying to make it updated, is there a way that you can somehow make it sound like maintains and increase scheduled airline traffic, or something that would address the fact that now we have this, rather than it sounding like, well, one of these days we'll get airline service? Maybe that's not even relevant.
No, absolutely. I think we've been going back and forth with the airport about those questions. Some elements have been approved by the FAA, such as a forecast,
Right.
which did not have any commercial service in there.
Right.
However, for this, the intent with this booklet was that there would be a standalone page where the airport will be able to track what efforts have been done, and so that for internal purposes, they can report to the commission. Originally, we had some words in the document itself. We know it's here. We decided to leave it out and leave this as to show the FAA that as part of the master planning process, you identified several things. Some of them have already started to happen. Some of the marketing for the airport has been put in place. The air services one. So we left it in there to show the FAA that it was also part of that sustainability process that created some of the that generated some of the interest for some of those studies. And this air service really launched faster than I think anybody could have foreseen it when we started. So we could have something on that page that says that it's effective December 14th, I think.
Well, we could just look at page 12. I think what the chairman is referring to is develop a strategy to restore scheduled commercial air service. We're showing 0 commercial passengers in 2014, both of which really could be considered to be accurate, but still, could we update that and just put, and we could even give you a number for 2015.
We could put a forecast, yeah. I mean, we could put something for 2015 and say that it's not scheduled at the bottom of the page.
Make it sound like we've established this and we look to increase it. That's why I asked about what date goes on this. If it's 2016, it seems like that page should be more current in terms of what we're doing to reflect what we're doing.
Absolutely, we could definitely show that in the wording and say that it exists. It's just that we wanted to show it as an action that did not exist when they started, exists now, and is in sync with some of the other action that we've seen in this document, which was diversify the sources of income for the airport. So that's why we phrased it like that. That's also how we approach the public with it when we submitted the actions.
Right.
So I think updating to 2015 would help for the baseline to show that you had some passengers in 2015.
Okay, great.
And then at the bottom, we could also, or the last sentence could be, to say that effective December 14th, Vero has started to receive commercial service by Elite
you're
Airways.
both saying, you could
December
just
10th.
you
December
could
10th.
just say to meet what you're both trying to accomplish here. You could just take out the words "develop A" and just make it strategy in restoring scheduled air service and get rid of the 0 commercial passengers in 2014.
Well,
That
we'll
would
look
clean
at
it right
that.
up.
I think you're all right.
Yeah, I
City
think
Council asked the same thing.
Just take a look at it.
Okay, absolutely.
So I've just got 2 more things real quick. On the next page, I was just curious at the very last dark gray thing, identify supporting utility and infrastructure needs. For future development sites, it says specifically consider water pressure issues on the west side of the airport. Where did that come from? I don't ever remember discussing water pressure issues.
So when we met it's part of the surveys that we did with the tenants. They did not say that there is water pressure constraints right now, but additional sprinklers for that area or fire suppressing system would most likely require increasing some of the water capacity in that area. So they said anything new that happens, that should be considered and reviewed to make sure that...
Would that fall on the airport as far as infrastructure? That would be the tenant.
That would be as part of the site plan
That would
process.
be tenant. And I know the water departments had the issues. They've got the fire hydrants open a lot and everything, and I'm sure that part is going to be taken care of. But it would be, infrastructure would be for the tenant to take care of.
Most likely they would pay for the cost to do that, yes.
Okay.
We just wanted to make sure it was in there so that the tenants who reported it wanted to make sure the airport was aware of it and that the due diligence would be done for new tenants to say,
You
make
need
sure
to-
you give consideration to the site.
Okay, and my other question, last one, 21, page 21, focused action 10, track energy consumption. This is probably like a cut and paste for a large airport, but it kind of, the way it reads, sounds like the airport staff is supposed to track all the energy use for all the tenants on a monthly basis. And I'm like, I don't think they've got the time to do that. I mean, if we can make it sound like it's more related to just the airport, the T hangars, the airport proper, because the way it's phrased, will enhance the tracking of energy consumption. Let's see. Yeah, and just complex setting with multiple buildings of varying ages operated by different tenants. And I'm like, we can't ask every tenant for their electric and water and sewer bill every month and then say, hey, we're going to track all this stuff. That's just the way it came across to me, so maybe it just needs to be rephrased to apply to the
So it's a very good point, and I'll make sure we tweak that. The airport is not responsible for the utilities of the tenant, so they don't have a way to track it. That was not the intent. The intent was only to focus on the airport buildings. Now, anything that's in this book has to make business sense. And as you said, right now, maybe as an alternative, the airport could start could track, which I think they do, Eric, as part of your budget, could track the amount spent on electricity, for instance, until they get to an actual, tracking the consumption itself. The intent was really more to show that there's an effort, conservation effort that's in place, and that the improvements at the airport, the capital improvements, show an improvement to what the airport is doing. So it was more to let the public know that this is something the airport is, looks for. That's why they're doing the LED program.
Right.
One of the things we have to look at there is a cost-benefit analysis. As the airport grows, and someday as we build the commercial terminal facility at the northwest part of the airport, and you have 70,000 square feet and multiple tenants and a lot of energy consumption. So, over time, we'll just change that to say over time, as the airport grows and develops more and more energy consumption, that energy consumption would be tracked to ensure efficiency or something like that.
Absolutely.
Because as a small airport with just a small terminal and 6 trucks, and it's just not going to be cost effective.
That was it. It just sounded like staff will enhance the tracking of energy consumption by summarizing by facility and for the airport fleet, and I was like, oh my gosh.
No,
I think it's just a matter of semantics, and obviously you know what the FAA requires.
And they don't require that. This was more that this is something that we heard during meetings, and then second, it was also to kind of show the public that the airport does track, is aware and cognizant of what they're spending in utilities. And I think the federal and state organizations appreciate that the airport is looking into this, showing an effort. The airport is not responsible for everything, and as I said, this was not intended to be something we're forcing the airport to do. As long as it makes business sense, where there's, as Eric said, a cost-benefit analysis that shows we should do it because there is something to that could help us in the long run. We'll do it. But it's not intended to be starting next month, you need to start tracking. It's not tying, the airport into doing it tomorrow. There is not a start date of tomorrow on this.
So you'll give me some new text in there,
correct.
And then we'll
replace it for the long term.
I just didn't want to go to Walking Tree Brewery and tell them they were using too much electricity.
not the intent.
That's not going to happen.
I know. That was kind of.
Not enough electricity.
Well, that was the thing. That was kind of the way I was reading this whole paragraph, and I'm like, isn't the airport staff busy enough? Now they got to track everybody.
Absolutely.
If you haven't been out there to see how they have restored that building,
I can't wait to see it. Real quick, does anybody else have anything? Because if there's a lot of discussion, I'd like to get Tim up here first so he can get off to his meeting. Does anybody have anything else?
The only thing I mentioned to Rennie before was that for clarity of reference, to have a 1 or 2 maps or a single map in the airport master plan that has all of the parcels on it.
With the parcel number.
Yeah, with the parcel number. Right now, we've got to go all over the master plan to find it in different areas.
Actually, Skip, you were right on. Remy has already done that. It's just you haven't seen this draft yet.
That's true.
The one that goes to council will have a fold-out map just like you're
Thank
talking
you, sir.
about.
And once all this gets finalized, I'd love to see this on the airport's website. I mean, I know it's voluminous, but people need to have access to it without going to your office and looking at the book.
Yeah, we'll get it on the website.
Okay.
That's really the only update we had, which was this document. Everything else you've seen, we've heard your comments, we've addressed all of them, discussed them with the airport staff, which has been extremely helpful given, as you said, the load of work that they're currently going through. So,
well, you've been great, Remy. We appreciate your efforts.
You've been patient.
Thank you.
No, I mean, it's amazing that we have a document like this for our size airport. So.
Not only did we gain a new airline during the airport master plan process, but Remy gained a new son.
Exactly.
I will come back. See if it works again.
There you go. That's great.
Thank you for your help.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tim, I apologize. I'm glad you stayed. Thank you. I know you have something important to discuss with us.
Yes. Again, Tim Zork, County Commission.
You want to ask about
Okay.
Over the last year, as we go through the master plan process, we've spoke a little bit about Aviation Boulevard. How do we get the project back into the MPO plan? How do we find money for it again? And setting aside if a check showed up tomorrow to build the road, there was some fundamental things that we had to figure out, right-of-way clips, right-of-way adjustments. One of the larger ones was the railroad crossing agreement where aviation would cross over US 1. All Aboard Florida has said about 12 times in a row every month, they say the 90% plans are coming. They came back last month or earlier in the month of February, said you're going to have them by the end of the month. And I said we should probably look at where we're at with working at all these parts and pieces in a crossing agreement, so that if they do come, they build the crossing to what the future might be, because to take that crossing and bust it out 5 years from now when we find the money to build the project, or whenever we find it, not saying it'll be 5 years, maybe less or more, we don't want to have to undo a lot of the improvements they made, which would be very, very costly. So in coordinating, yesterday we had a great meeting with Public Works from the county, Chris Mora, Monty Falls, Eric, and myself, to look at what are the other items out there we still need to figure out that aren't funding related. And we had a good meeting yesterday. I think I could fairly say we came into agreement how to kind of approach each of them and bring them to a resolution.
I think we came to the agreement that the city, for sure, would not be an impediment to the road project.
Right.
We would love to see it happen, certainly the airport.
Right, and that the crossing agreement going back a number of years ago was, I don't want to say the deal killer, but it was one of the issues that who was going to maintain the crossing after the road was built. That lack of a crossing agreement caused that money to be moved somewhere else because that couldn't be addressed. So I think we're in a good position to keep working through these items. So we can, Phil Mattson is our MP, I call him the guy that can go find money in great places, is to really turn him loose and that we don't have any obstacles if he gets lucky and finds some money. A short update on the 43rd Avenue to Aviation, that intersection, we do have money that's going to widen 43rd, put all the signaling, the widening of the 4-lane at the intersection, take it east, probably not quite to Dodgertown. There'll be a transition area there. And then so we would then be looking to continue that on either as one project or two projects, whether it's from there to 27th Avenue, or if we can find it all at one time, we'd obviously do it all at one time. But making sure we've got any of the obstacles out of the way was my goal, to make sure we don't have, okay, we've got the money, but gee, we don't have this figured out. So I think we're in better shape than we were a year ago.
Wonderful.
So
I know I spoke with Eric briefly, and I haven't been in on the meeting, so I don't have all the ins and outs, and I just have two concerns. One would be the original plan was like a boulevard, and the master plan now calls for complete streets with bike paths and walking paths.
Right.
Will that be redesigned within the scope of this project?
I'm trying to think, and I know in the plan it actually had a walking section, an 8-foot wide piece on the south that may incorporate or may be able to be used for that described improvement. The road as it's currently planned was $16 million. It was kind of like, gee, if we could get everything in gold-plated curbs was in the proposal that we had. We didn't have funding for the full $16 million. There were some things that were going to have to be backed down, but we'd have to probably look at it and dust it off as we're going through this again to include those.
Well, with 43rd Avenue intersection being completed, with the light at 20th Avenue now for the county admin building, and with the Airport Drive access road and the new light that's going in there, we're kind of piecemealing it.
Right.
So yeah, a redesign will certainly be needed at some point, and my guess is that working with Phil, we could work at a phase 1, phase 2 of this project. Phase 1 being the redesign. Whatever that would cost. Phase 2, as soon as possible, will be the construction, and get some grant funding to move forward with that.
And then also trying to tie in with the city's efforts to widen 34th Avenue, replace the bridge north of Atlantic, and just make sure everything's all connected together so we're all on the same page.
When I think that complete streets idea came out of that meeting that we had, it was Tim McGarry, I think, that was the one that broached the subject, because we're trying to make Aviation Boulevard Airport commercial village. walkable, and if all of a sudden we've got a boulevard, people are going to be like, it's like jumping rope. When do I go in? You know? So that's how the complete streets idea came out, and it did end up in the master plan. So I'm hoping that we can address that and make it user-friendly, because certainly it's an important corridor to get people from US 1 back to State Road 60 while avoiding downtown, because that's always congested.
Right.
But I want to keep in mind that we're trying to create this commercial village, and now that we have things like Walking Tree Brewery and Oculina Bank, we want to foster that concept into the future. And again, like I said, this master plan was all about planning for the future. It's not going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
But if we don't plan for it, it's just never going to happen. So I just want to make sure we keep all of that in mind.
And maybe something for the next meeting, since things are, being worked on this, is actually, I couldn't tell you the last time I looked at all the plans, is actually lay them out and say, this is what it looks like. Okay, here's some of the things in the new master plan. Does it look like those are addressed or not? Kind of an informal view without bringing a consultant in and kind of going the technical route. Just put it out there and just everybody take a look at it and see, we've got sidewalks everywhere. We've got crossing places. We've got pedestrian, where they push the button and the light stops. Those, if those things are in there, does it meet the goals that you have in the master plan?
And I fully believe that you're on board with this project. I know in the past we've seen some things that partial things get done that don't end up serving the airport of the city. So I'd hate to see this project just go from US 1 to the new intersection to go into the county building.
Right.
I want to make sure that we have some sort of program to get this whole thing completed so that everybody benefits from it.
It may have to be built in sections depending on money, but plans should be complete.
Complete. Thank you.
On a somewhat related topic, Aviation Boulevard ends at 43rd, and it picks up as Walker Avenue out to Kings Highway. That's one of the worst stretches of road in the county. What's the plan to integrate that?
We've been securing right-of-way both from the developer, the Dodger Pines. We purchased some property from them, and we've been buying property on the north side of the street. In some cases, trying to get out of the eminent domain world, because that drives your cost by a multiple of 4 to 10 of what you could buy it for in the open market. So we've been buying willing seller pieces along 26th Street. I don't know how many. I know we have quite a number of them. And then when you take the project pieces, that includes the 58th going east on 26, and then also the other end. And I know in the last year, last 2 years, we bought, I think, 4 parcels in between there. We may be getting close to having enough of those pieces, but you're right, that road is extremely narrow. The utility poles are right on the edge of the road. And thinking all that as a big picture, yes.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Unfortunately, I have to cut out.
Nope, that's fine.
Yeah. And we're not going to the same place at 1. No.
Unless you're coming to my office.
No.
I think just as long as you keep us all updated, if there's anything I can attend that you do, I'd be happy to do so. Thank you for pushing this issue, because it's been off the table for a long time. So.
And one thing, in keeping it fresh, we're transitioning between public works directors. Chris Moore is retiring. We just announced yesterday the replacement is have both of them, along with Monty, attend the rollout, which would really be like your next meeting, so that the replacement person understands where we're at with this project and some of the other parts and pieces of it. Yes.
Who is it, Tim? Who's the replacement?
Rich, and I tell you, I do a bad way pronouncing it. It's like Spycheck, but it's spelled with a lot of extra vowels in it.
I'm missing
real nice
a
fellow.
few,
He's actually been in the department for a while. It's sort of a interdepartmental promotion, so he has some institutional knowledge, but since this probably was started before I think he came on board at the county, kind of getting everybody on the same page, I think would be a good exercise, and that's.
So I understand you're suggesting a roll out the plans, meaning we get some of the staff together and relook at, and maybe
and kind of look, and then get comments. Since you guys just finished the plan, is look at it and go, okay, does it look like the plan addresses this and this? And obviously, there's been a fair number of development out there since the road plan was done. We've got new things that are going on out there.
Okay, thank you
Great, thank
very
you.
much.
All right, bye-bye.
I have a comment.
Yes.
We have the golf cart people have moved over into our buildings right there, and they've been very busy also. I don't know if the rest of the members know that, but they've...
The golf cart into the Dragonfly
Vero Beach,
facility?
yes,
Okay.
exactly. And so I see them being extremely busy.
Golf carts are pretty popular along Aviation Boulevard, and they are subleasing from Dragonfly, which is helping Dragonfly to cover their rental costs and helping golf carts to expand and find a place to store additional facilities.
Anything we can offer them, Eric? As far as a full structure where they could unify themselves?
The staff is working with Dragonfly right now to renegotiate their lease and try to assist in bringing their lease to market conditions, because their existing lease was a little bit over market in our review with our current FMV. So we're going to do that, and that's in process, sir.
Okay. Chairman's matters. Members' matters. Dick, you had a comment that you wanted to address to Remy?
Remy or anyone, probably was an issue that we were discussing about, wondered whether there was any update or any changes, progress, et cetera, on the Citrus Park mobile home area of the airport.
Yes, sir.
Anything new?
We are. The new thing is that we are currently developing a set of specifications to go out for our RFP to consider management of the park, because it has become such a large time consumer with airport staff. Then we have found at least one local real estate company that would be interested in managing it for a fee. And moving in that direction would allow the revenue to continue to flow and perhaps increase, and go in that direction for as long as the Airport Commission, the city, is willing to maintain that as a residential mobile home park. The plus side is there is considerable revenue from that park. The downside is there's considerable headache. We're trying to solve the considerable headache part and keep the revenue. If that doesn't work and we decide that we just want to be out of the residential business entirely, for example, if a developer comes in and really loves that particular parcel, but you got to remember that the price per square foot and the cost to go through that process to transition from a mobile home park to a commercial site would be considerable and be time consuming as well. So we're on those parallel paths as we talked about at the November meeting, and we continue to do so, but we were able to find at least one that could possibly manage that, and if we can find that financially feasible, would recommend at some point that we'd go forward with that.
Is there a chance that someone like Elliott Merrill or someone else?
Something we haven't talked to that particular company, okay. But in the RFP process, we assume that we will get hopefully 2 or 3 opportunities there.
What's the status of the utility infrastructure? Because that could be a huge hit on the value of what we're trying to get out of the existing.
That is a part of it. And if we, currently we've updated the water lines. They're in good shape. The electrical is in pretty good shape. We still think we can piecemeal that and improve some of the electrical side. On the sewer side, that's where we have in the capital budget currently about $300,000 to totally revamp the underground sewer. If we decide to continue with the mobile home park, we would have to spend that money. So we're going to do a financial, cost-benefit analysis and find out what that's going to be. But I have to say that the one company that's shown interest so far has indicated that our rents are way low at the mobile home park and do need to go up. And so with an increase in revenue that would offset the capital cost, because there is a grant involved with that capital cost, it's a 50-50. So we're actually would only be spending $150,000 for the upgrades. And if we can get a revenue offset there with some increases in rent and to also cover the management costs, we'll end up with a net revenue increase. And that's what we hope to show you in the near future once we get to that point, get the data.
Eric, the individual properties within that park that are deemed unlivable for whatever reason, I know there was an option available where we could put more money into it to make them be revenue producing again. How many of those are there right now that are lots or sections that are deemed unlivable?
We've got 71 out of 75 lots leased. Of the ones that are if you were deemed unlivable, we don't have a term, for that. But it varies in size, in scale. I can tell you some of them are in very good shape, and then others not good shape at all. And as we talked about at a previous meeting, it's difficult for us. There's not really a clear code enforcement issue on the building itself. It's only outside landscaping and that kind of thing. And each building is licensed, each mobile home is licensed as a vehicle, not so much as a home. So you end up trying to deal with the Department of Motor Vehicles to try to find out what kind of issues they have, or the health department if it gets to be serious, and see what they can do. That's where the headache comes in, because we're airport managers, but we've kept it going for quite a number of years, and it has been a revenue producer. So we think that bringing in the professionals to manage that site would be better than hiring additional staff, city staff, to solely manage that facility, and probably cost less.
Any other members' matters? Mike, are you here to speak about the air show or something? Nope, just here as a...
I'm just here because I like them.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, Eric, do you...
You want to give us a short update, just like in 2 minutes? Or
Yeah.
It isn't really.
Blue Angels. Everybody wants to hear about that.
Actually, here's
That's what I meant.
Oh.
You probably know I'm with Hanson Professional Services, and we were a sub to Recondo on the master plan, did the noise contours for you, so I had an interest in the master plan. Known Eric for a lot of years, but I'm also been hired by the Vero Beach Air Show Board as the director for the 2016 Air Show. And we are moving well. We had a little setback the other day. We found out that Air Combat Command refused our request, or did not honor our request, I'll put it that way, for the F-22 Raptor to come to the air show, or the F-16. So we've hired a couple of new acts. We've got a really, really good lineup. The board is meeting every week as we go forward. I meet twice a month with them, excuse me, on the air shows, on the aviation side of it. Some of the acts I'll run down real quick. Aeroshell Aerobatic Team, Rob Holland, Greg Shelton. We just hired John Black, who's from Cocoa Beach, and Jackie Warda, who flies an extra 300, Michael Goulian, who is one of the top performers in the industry. So we've got a really, really good Shockwave jet truck will be back. Really good lineup of performers. Really excited about it, and the board is working hard on the logistical side, getting everything ready for the setup phase the week before the show, getting all the crowd lines and security barriers, and I'm going to be meeting with Todd Scher at the airport and Marty at 2 o'clock this afternoon to get some of the final. I don't know if you're familiar, but the Blue Angels have a checklist that's about that long and dates that you have to send everything in. So we're going to be finalizing some stuff that's due April 1st. And waiver is ready to go into FAA probably now that we've hired the last two acts. The waiver request will be sent to the FAA probably Monday. I think I can finalize that this weekend. Except I'm spending the weekend at Dodgertown watching my daughter coach softball. So.
Did you ever attempt to get the TAC Squadron 86 F-18 Foxtrot that does the dance and everything? I saw it at Titusville, and it's extremely impressive how he could walk that thing down the runway. I just wondered if you...
I have not seen that.
All right, I'll see if I can get something back to you.
Yeah, we actually have...
You're out of Oceana.
Now, we had the F-18 in Stewart last year. Since the Blue Angels were here, if it's the F-18 TAC demo, since the Angels are here, highly unlikely that the Navy would send a single ship F-18 demo team. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. They're great. One of the most impressive, other than the Raptor, it's one of the most impressive demos I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
Air Force is tough to get along with.
No, you know how that is, Skip.
We just ended up on a weekend, and I don't know if you know how it happened, but the board said, well, we want to do this weekend, but we'll take any weekend the Blues are available. And the Blues said we're available this weekend. Mm-hmm. Well, there are, as it happens, 3 large Air Force base air shows that same weekend. So we, as a civilian show, were actually competing with 3 other Air Force bases.
I think
Hill got the Raptor, and there was another Air Force base that got the F-16. It's been really tough since sequestration. They used to fly 2 A-10 demo teams, 2 F-15 demo teams, 2 F-16 demo teams. Of course, that was before the F-22 demo started. Right. So you used to have 6 teams to choose from. Now you got 2. So it's really been tough. But we're going after the Thunderbirds for 2018.
Great. Thank you.
We had to do it sooner or later.
Any other questions?
Yeah, it kind of hurts us Navy guys to do that.
Got to have the junior varsity come in anytime.
The thrill is gone, right?
Sorry, I could have been a little more prepared, but
no, thank you very much.
It's moving well, and I appreciate you taking the time and your interest.
Thank you.
These guys are terrific, and they've been meeting weekly. We're in the week every week. The board meets, and it's actually part of the board meets on another time during the week. So they're really busy, and it's good to have Mike on board, being a former airport manager, and so everything's going well.
Eric,
it's incredible that if any of us, I don't know how many, I was there for like 6 hours when the Blues were going through their requirements. I've never seen anything so stringent in my life when those 2 guys, the gal and the guy, was going through that with your group. Absolutely incredible, I thought, presentation on their part. Very demanding.
They do a great job, but it is a demanding thing to go through and do.
Right.
We work. I only meet with the board once every 2 weeks, but a lot more work that goes into it, sitting in the house on the computer trying to get everything ready to go.
Sure.
Well, thank you.
But it's fun.
We're looking forward to it.
Thank you for all your work.
Great group of work.
Good venue.
Great, yeah.
Eric, do you have any matters that you?
You're shaking your head. No, I don't. So
you don't, do you?
We've talked about most. Mr. Vosell brought up the Walking Tree Brewery and how great that's going. So I'd ask you all to take a trip out there sometime to get a chance.
Can we go as a commission?
No.
And do we get a
Let's bring a press too. But you can go out individually, take a look at the Walking Tree Brewery. They're coming on terrific, and it's going to be opening hopefully in April. As now we've been pushing it back. They've had a lot of issues, mostly regulatory, but they're looking good. Davis Development Site that I mentioned is being demolished is supposed to start any day now. They're in the permitting phase, and they're waiting for the building department of the county to complete their okay to begin. And so we'll see a new $1 million hangar going up right at the south corner there, the north ramp, right next to where Treasure Coast Seaplanes is going to be leasing. I hope you all saw the annual report. We sent it out to everybody, and if there's no comments or no suggestions, I'm going to be putting that on the website real soon. So, because it was approved by City Council. Oh, Council did want, I believe, chair members. Did you want to?
Yeah, there was an email sent out to each.
Okay.
member.
Yeah,
Okay,
I've
good.
got to just pick a date and let you know.
Okay.
So they wanted us to just come give a synopsis of the annual report that we had submitted to them. So I'll be happy to do that.
And I was going to talk about the air show and the airline, but we already talked about the airline and the air show. And if there's any questions on capital projects that are going on, you all can always give me a call.
I think our next thing, we need to come up with a next meeting date unless we have, I mean, I'd almost like to defer to Eric and if
Sure.
there's new leases coming up or we need to do something more with the master plan. Does anyone have an objection to that? I mean, this was a very important meeting.
I'd like to see a meeting where we, like Tim was saying, where we could talk a little bit more about Aviation Boulevard, because I think that's going to be an extremely important part of the airport.
A workshop.
And if he's volunteered to bring them into it, let's do it.
Well, I think he was trying to get staff together first to take a look at it and then bring a recommendation to you all. But it's up to you. If right now we even the staff, we haven't staffed it out yet on what's going to happen there, and primarily that's led by the road people, both the county and city public works.
You think we could get Phil Matson to come over and talk to us at the same time, Eric?
Sure. I can have. How about if I do that then at the next?
Would we do it right here? Put the maps on the table.
Or are we talking about a workshop to talk about just the Aviation Boulevard project? Is that what you all would like to see?
I mean, that's just part of it, whatever Barb wants to do.
I think we need to have a few more details before we all just start jumping in. Like even Tim said, he hadn't even seen what the last, idea of it was, and I think if we get a little more of a plan, then we can go, why are you putting that section before this section, or and try and tie it all together.
I'd like to show you something.
Yeah, with when is 43rd Avenue getting the light? When are we getting the new light by Oculina Bank? We already got the light, I guess, near the county building, and what's the railroad going to do, and when are they doing that? So that we have a few more things to bring together that'll make sense for us, because otherwise we're all inputting stuff that I don't know anything about road building.
Right, and I won't have answers for those things yet.
Right,
so
but I think from your end, encourage our concept of complete streets and the walkability, bike paths, because we want to create this community here, especially if we ever get houses on the old Dodger Pines property.
Right.
That's going to be a group of people that could heavily use our area and could encourage development of our airport village.
Absolutely.
So
does everybody
that's what I'd be
understand complete streets, what that means? The question there, do we have any?
I know you don't have anything to do, Eric, but we at some point need to maybe think a little forward about what happens if elite and some competition comes in, and we need to expand a little bit as far as that northwest corner is concerned.
Yes, that could happen sooner than later. I mean, right now, of course, it's unfair to really make a whole projection based on 2.5 months worth of operation, 3 months. Obviously, they're doing very well. We had an 82% factor, 87 load factor, and now 95 for March.
That's impossible.
They're doing great.
Full airplane.
They're increasing, but now we're going to have the season. I don't see a big drop off though from what these are regulars that really love it. I think they're going to continue to fly, and maybe we'll add on some people that wanted to wait into the summer when it's warmer to go up there. So we'll see how it goes. But we are going to have to spend some money to expand for that full security program.
To Skip's point, you haven't seen the sign in the terminal building? It says Concourse A, gates 1 to 55. We're ready. We're ready.
We're ready to expand.
We're ready.
Well, we can certainly go into daily before we start getting into bigger airplanes or a bigger terminal and all that sort of thing.
True, that gives more flexibility for passengers, and hopefully the biggest issue is that just resources. The elite has to have the resources to be able to go to daily and still keep up their charter business, which they're making good money doing that. They don't want to give that up. But we'll continue to bring news to you all as soon as we have, and I'll be talking to Jim and to Barb on a pretty regular basis.
So, I mean, I guess we tried to set up quarterly meetings, but I hate to have meetings that we're not really addressing anything. So why don't we kind of say within the next 3 months, if you have information that would make sense for us to come together, or the workshop idea looks like the road is moving faster than we had hoped. And then just, let everybody know some possible dates, collect that info, and kind of go from there. Is that okay, Sherry, that we do that? Okay. Okay, if everybody's okay with that.
Just one comment. We're going to have a lot of changes at the county, with the county administrators changing, and as they're talking about the different directors, you've got several directors that are in line to, unfortunately, leave the county. So I think the more communication we can have with the new folks who may not have any idea what your thoughts are for the next 20 years for the airport, and certainly haven't sat through these master plan concepts. So I think the more that we can maybe invite them to our meetings, or personally have discussions with them, or however you would handle that, or maybe a workshop that you just take a look at once. Maybe Jason's been so involved with the county, but still, has he been involved that much with the airport? And maybe we could have a workshop where we could just sit maybe at a table at the airport and look over everything.
Well, and your point's well taken, because, one of the things we've always recognized is the airport is in the city, but it affects the county, so just across the street is the county. So everybody wants to be good neighbors and have a clear understanding of what the airport does. Workshop's fine. I would be happy to do what I usually do with new city council members. I go in and discuss what airports do and how they operate, and would be happy to bring up our master plan. But if everybody wants to get involved, that's great too. I'd like to invite them. Sometimes we found, you can see we have people out the door waiting to come into our meetings. So, I'm not sure we could get them in, but that's been a little bit of a problem sometimes, is getting people to come to the meetings, especially since they're during their working hours. But if there is some sort of thing we can figure out, Eric, you're kind of in on that. Jim, you too. So we'll kind of go whatever direction you guys think would work.
I'd sure like to have a quarterly meeting and have it less than 3 hours.
Yes, this was unusual.
Barbara, I think during the workday to get county staff as well as some city staff is the way to do it. And, citizens are always going to be advised to come if they wish to do so. But I think doing that as we go through the transition, by June is when primarily all your transition will take place, because the Public Works Director, as I understand it, leaves in May, isn't it? And Chris leaving in May, and then
46 days. Well, yeah, so that's probably about.
And so it would be good to sort of do that. And the person who has the most insight on Aviation Boulevard is now going to be Monty. I think he's the one that's been here from the beginning of that exercise. So.
Well, Jim, I think regardless of whether it's city or county, I find while I'm technically state, city, and county, I find everything we do involves everybody.
Right.
So the more we can share, I think, the vision of the airport and how everything intersects. Because if they haven't been involved, they don't know. Yeah. And I think the more that we can share, and I know you do, I'm sure you and Eric do, but just the overall concepts and what
and
our
I
thinking
agree.
is.
And I think that having the planning staff, the Public Works Director, and Jason Brown coming over, after the transition of the folks, I think would be an excellent idea.
Yeah, maybe during the quiet summer.
Yeah. I'm good
and then
with that.
roll out those plans and talk about it, because Aviation Boulevard's the one thing that we're all really invested in at this point.
Right. Okay.
So I guess what I'm hearing is that at our next meeting, whenever that might be, or at least at a summer meeting, we would have an agenda item to discuss airport master plan and county
in conjunction with the new county personnel.
Bring in some of the county staff.
Yeah, if they're willing to do that, that would be great. So it still sounds like we
special call. Yeah.
Not a general.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Casual.
Eric, do you foresee any big business coming up between now and, because normally we had, the master plan discussion, the road discussion, then we had 2 leases. So
there may be some additional lease items coming up, and we'll just have to see how quickly we can move those forward. Okay. Some of those, though, if they're not a significant development, nothing that's going to alter or be outside of our master plan, we can just send it to the city council and make sure we copy everybody, so that if you have an issue, you can say, hey, pull it off the agenda and we'll have a meeting to discuss it. Sometimes that helps the tenants out, because they'd like to move quicker rather than go through 2 commissions to get to their approval. So we'll make the judgment on that based on how significant the lease is. If it's fairly small, we probably won't ask you to have a meeting to review it.
All right, then let's just leave it at that. If something big comes up, and then when the county's made their transition, we'll have a special meeting that we'll call to bring them up to speed on all of the concerns of address the airport.
Excuse me, how quickly are we going to approach this trailer area? In other words, selecting a rental agent, if that's what we're going to do, or
I'd give it probably 3 months before we can get an RFP put together and put out. We have to go through the city purchasing department and get that out, and then we'll have, if that's all approved, we'll bring on somebody that would actually manage the park.
Yeah, I think we'd all like to see the numbers on all of that and what their future plans are for it.
Sure.
If there's any standards that they're going to require.
One other thing, just food for thought, and Eric and I have not talked about this, but the police chief did. The way that our flights are sort of changing on about a 48-hour notice, we're trying to get officers down there as we can, and they now are doing it, doing the scheduling by cell phone to try to make sure that we get those coverage. But I know, like Eric gets a call on a Saturday morning, it says Sunday we're going to start flying again.
That's right.
And then we try to get the officers down there, but we're working very close, and Eric and David Curry are working closely on that. But that may be one of those financial issues we have to address as part of our contractual agreements.
Yep.
Sounds good.
It's getting expensive to have an airline, and we're not getting any money from them yet, so we're
Right. Well, so keep us posted when you know what issues we should see, and then we'll just go from there. And
okay, very well.
With the eye on having the special workshop in the summer, probably, unless we find everybody's gone for the summer. So, all right. Any more comments? Is it lunchtime?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Yes. Let's adjourn.
I second that.
We're adjourned.